Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Sunday, March the 19th, 2023. An Israeli friend asked me what was going on with Israel. She was concerned about how the Netanyahu government was pushing through draconian measures, and she was concerned about dictatorship. One of the measures that I believe he is proposing, Benjamin Netanyahu, is the introduction of the death penalty, I think for someone killing Israeli citizens. Now, that seems to me quite extreme. I mean, Israel has not executed anyone for a very long time. I think in its entire history, it's only executed 2 people. The first one was, I think, some maybe soldier who was accused of betrayal, and it was actually he was actually innocent, and that was in 1948. And the second person to be executed, the very famous, infamous person to be executed, was the Nazi Adolf Eichmann, who was executed on the 1st of June 1962. I find his execution particularly interesting because of my birthday. As I keep saying, I am old. I'm going to be 61 this year. And I was born on May the 30th, 1962. So as one does, one wants to know what big events happened around the time one is born. And in my case, not very much was going on May the 30th, 1962. But I was always interested by the fact that the day after I was born, well, maybe 2 days after I was born, Adolf Eichmann was executed. So I shared the earth with Adolf Eichmann for well over 24 hours. And Adolf Eichmann, because it's his birthday today, it would have been his birthday. He was born on March the 19th, 1906 in Germany. He is a Pisces, and I've talked about Pisces and evil. We've talked about we've talked about the man who was Eichmann's boss, Reinhard Heydrich, who was a Pisces, one of probably the most evil Nazi of them all. Joseph Mengele, who was infamous for doing medical experiments on concentration camp inmates, he was a Pisces. And so here is another Pisces, and I want to look at his horoscope and look at where is the evil in his horoscope. Is it just because he's a Pisces? Can we really understand why he did what he did? But before I do that, as usual, I want to look at the stars for today, Sunday, March the 19th, 2023. Okay, so let's see what is going on. So, right, this is the chart. Okay, here's the chart for today. So we noticed that the moon up here is just going into Pisces, where it makes a conjunction to Saturn. So moon conjunct Saturn in Pisces. Many of us are going to feel a certain sense of emotional sludge. We're going to be feeling emotional, but are we really going to be able to express our emotions in a healthy way? Everything might feel rather stuck. So we shouldn't get too emotional about things, because if we try to be emotional, we might just look, well, I was going to say look stupid, but we might just make ourselves miserable. So if we are being emotional, if we find we have to be emotional about something, we don't want to get stuck, because Moon-Saturn conjunction, particularly in Pisces, is about things that are emotional, that are also getting stuck. One other thing, the sign Pisces is associated with the feet. So be very careful of your feet today. I mean, not just today, the moon's in Pisces tomorrow as well. So if you're going up and down stairs, for example, be careful. Don't sprain an ankle, don't stub a toe. So yeah, that's probably for most of us, that's going to be the vulnerable part of our body. So what else is going on? We have another sign change. Mercury is moving into Aries. Now, I think that is a very good thing, because Mercury has been in Pisces, and Mercury does not work well in Pisces. Mercury is a planet connected with the mind, with communication, with the way we talk, and Pisces is just way too emotional for Mercury. So when Mercury moves into Aries, which it's now doing, we can be more forthright about our thoughts and our feelings and our opinions. And this is helped by the fact that Mercury is in mutual reception with Mars. So the reason I say it's in mutual reception is because Mercury is in Aries, which is a sign ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Gemini, a sign ruled by Mercury. So now is a time when we really can express ourselves. We can be angry. We can show our anger in a rational way. We can tell people what upsets us, but we can keep our cool. So if you've been boiling over with frustrated feeling and so forth, now is the time to tell people very clearly what the problem is. There's no need to get angry, just be completely rational, explain the facts, but at the same time be assertive. And I think in most cases you should get a good response. I mean, not just today, but over the next few days, through early next week. It's just tell people how you feel, and you'll see. I think you'll see good results. Just stick to the facts, and don't be tempted to let emotion get in the way of common sense. We should also notice that there's Pluto, 2956 Capricorn. Pluto is very close now to moving into Aquarius. So, I mean, I'll be talking about that very soon, but that's certainly something to look out for. Anyway, those are the main themes for today, and I will now move on and look at the horoscope of Adolf Eichmann. Adolf Eichmann, he is supposedly evil. I mean, he must be evil. He was responsible for, I don't know, I suppose hundreds of thousands of Jews losing their lives. I don't know precisely the figures. But it was suggested by a writer, Hannah Arendt, that in fact he wasn't evil at all. She talked about the banality of evil. Eichmann just took the view that he was following orders. He was doing a job, and he didn't really think about what he was doing. I suppose if you're in the middle of Nazi Germany, he wasn't right at the top of the SS or anything. He was a middle-ranking official, just like almost a clerk, just doing his job, not complaining. At the same time, he wanted promotion, so he wanted to do the job well. Standard thing that anyone in employment is thinking about. Yet in the process, he was contributing to the Holocaust. He was a major player in the organization of the Holocaust. Hence the banality of evil. We think about evil in terms of monsters, but we don't think about them in terms of just bureaucrats wanting a quiet life. In terms of his chart, there's something that's interesting about his chart, is that if you look at the shape of his chart, you will see that all of his planets, I've included some hypothetical planets here, when in fact this chart might look a bit better if I remove the hypothetical planets, which I will now do. So let's have a more uncluttered chart. You will see that all his planets, except perhaps Uranus, Neptune, they're all on one side of the chart. They're on the western side of the chart. The side of a chart connected with the descendant. And in astrology, when you've got a chart like that, that shows a person who is focused on the other. They're not the kind of person that really takes the initiative. They do what they're told. They are a person who is easily influenced by what's going on in the world. And I think that is reflected by someone who justified what he did by saying that he was only following orders. He's also a Pisces. I said, like Heydrich, like Mengele. He just was able to absorb himself in Nazism, not really thinking about it, just going with the flow, and in the process being responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people. There are some other things in his chart. He's got Neptune on the midheaven, Uranus on the IC, Neptune on the midheaven. The midheaven is one's career, and so I suppose his career, he didn't really have a strong sense of where he was going, perhaps, to begin with, and he would just go with whatever was there. And Neptune is in Cancer. There's some kind of false patriotism there. But again, we've got this idea of someone just absorbing themselves into a cause. Uranus on the IC. The IC is a home. So I suppose there were some big changes in his home environment, you could say, as he went through life. He was German. He moved to Austria. Then that's where he started his involvement with the Holocaust. I mean, he actually began by, I think he was, facilitating Jews wanting to leave Austria and going somewhere else, and then he got involved in the actual killing machine. So he's in Austria. Then at the end of the Second World War, he has another big move. He goes to Argentina because he flees the victorious Allies. He goes to Argentina and tries to have a completely different life. Again, Uranus on the IC. And then, I think in 1960, he gets kidnapped by Israeli agents and he's taken to Israel, and where he's tried and hanged. So that's that kind of fits with the Uranus on the IC. Then there's a question of his death. Obviously, a lot of Nazis got hanged. They were hanged in different ways. Generally, when the British hanged Nazis, they were hanged quite quickly. It was, I think, a long drop hanging where they died immediately. If the Russians got hold of them, or the Poles got hold of them, or the Czechs, and they were hanged, they used a short drop hanging where it was strangled to death. I don't know if we know what kind of drop he was given when he was hanged on the 1st of June 1962, but I'm guessing it was quite quick. I think the Israelis probably followed the British technique, but I really don't know. But we can actually see his death, because in astrology the 8th house is the house of death, and there's Mars in Taurus. And Taurus, what part of the body does Taurus rule? It rules the throat and the neck. So it kind of, the symbolism of someone being hanged is really there in his chart. And when we look at his death, that's even more poignant. Now, look, by the way, at that Mars. It's at 139 Taurus. Then we look at his... This is the time of his execution, apparently a couple of minutes after midnight in Ramla, Israel. Look at Mars. Mars is at 211 Taurus. So Mars returned to the place it was when he was born, and that was when he got hanged. which is well, it's a good example of astrology in action. So I know I've gone into a lot of detail there, or perhaps more detail than usual. And fundamentally, he is a Pisces, and when Pisces goes bad, it really goes bad, and that is a real illustration of it. So thanks for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow on Monday.